Says it's streaming.
It says live, but it says that when it says that before it's actually ready. But I think we're actually good. Let's just. Okay.
Says it's streaming.
Yeah, and I'm seeing it on YouTube. We're okay now. Okay, sorry guys. It says that before it's actually ready. And now I'm actually good. Let's just myself twice. Okay.
All right, I think we are ready to get going. Thank you for being patient while we solved our technical issues here. Lots of moving parts to get our meetings ready to go public like this. But we are ready for the Windsor Unified School District regular school board meeting for October 20th of 2020. We are live on YouTube. For those of you that are watching, thank you for coming in and joining. We have a group of about 16 of us here on the Zoom call tonight, and we would appreciate people being on mute and being respectful while we get through the meeting tonight. Thank you. At this time, I would ask that we go through item 2, which is our first one. 2.1 is roll call. Could Jen please help us with that?
President Heights.
Here.
Vice President Ahmad.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Trustee Carnation.
Here.
Trustee Valenzuela.
Here.
Student Board Member Ava Hammelberg.
Here.
Thank you very much, Jen. We appreciate your work for that. Item 2.2 is our flag salute, and I will ask Trustee Adams to lead the salute, and Jen will put a flag on our screens. So please observe that.
I just need to ask the host to enable the screen sharing.
Am I the host or is Brad?
I think Brad is still the host. Can you see it?
Yep. And if you put your hand on your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Adams. Our next item on the agenda is 2.3, a report out of closed session. We met earlier this evening, and Superintendent Decker, do we have anything we'd like to report tonight?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 3 is our opening item section, and the first of those is 3.1. We'll start with our report from our student board member, Ava Hammelberg. Welcome, Ava. Thank you for presenting for us tonight.
Great, thank you. I do have a slideshow.
I'm just loading it for you, Ava.
Great, thanks. Great, so yeah, this is my student board member report for today. If we can go to the next slide, please.
Ava, I'm going to need to ask you to speak up a little bit. Your microphone's not being picked up well, so please try to be a little bit louder. Thank you.
Yes, sorry. Please let me know if it's too quiet. I use the old iPhone mics, so they're not too strong. Jen, can we please go to the next slide?
Sure. How do I do that with this? Of course.
Great, thank you. So I wanted to start with the Latinx forum that we had, I believe, last week. We had Daphne Cruz, who is a current senior, and Sammy Reyes, and they did a really great job. I really liked hearing them speak, especially since I do know both of them, so it was really interesting to hear their perspective. Two of the big things that I took away was them talking about their linguistic pride, being proud of being bilingual, speaking Spanish, speaking it on school campus, and also just continuing to have that fostered by their teachers, and also what they called self-segregation, where especially in their earlier years at school, how they found themselves, and as they put it, segregating themselves with other people of their race, and how when they became more comfortable in their identity, that they were able to branch out and kind of make friends throughout the entire district in their school, and how once they were comfortable and familiar with people, that was when they were able to kind of branch out and meet new people. And another big point that was brought up was just how they really want to strive to have ethnic studies as a class at the high school, and I believe they also mentioned the middle school levels. So these were the main takeaways that I got from them. And then the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so some updates from Windsor High School. On the 14th, we had our first Senate Forum, which was attended by leadership students, our core senators, which are our representatives from each high school core. We had club leaders, and also we had members of administration, such as Dr. Collins, attend. It was really interesting because it was our first time doing this virtually. And of course, there are things we're figuring out, but just it's always really reassuring when you see other classmates and you just see a bunch of kids from school together just talking about how to make this school year still fun for everyone. The big thing that I wanted to mention is that there will be a virtual rally on the 30th at 4 o'clock. Windsor HS 95492 is the YouTube, and then WHS Updates is the Instagram. I believe it will be streamed on both of these, but it'll really highlight our fall sports, and just we're learning how to do this all digitally. So I think this virtual rally is going to be really interesting. It'll be partially pre-recorded, partially live streamed, and it'll be a lot of fun. And there will also be, for those of us who are competitive, there will be a prize at the end if you can pick up on all the little Easter eggs that are dropped during the rally. So yes, that's on the 30th at 4 o'clock. And then another Windsor High School club that I'll kind of finish this off for, the Committee for Change. They've been very active with social and environmental awareness in our community. And the Local Outreach and Awareness Subcommittee, which I'm actually a part of, we have organized this porch donation pickup event on the 24th, which is a Saturday at 3 o'clock. And we are asking for donations of canned goods, clothes, cash, which is just always an option, because we as a club are trying to provide the homeless community with supplies during times of coronavirus and fires, and also colder weather, which we're not feeling right now, but we know is coming. So we want to make sure that everyone has the resources they need. We have a virtual flyer going out, but I also wanted to make sure it was brought up here because this is something where normal fundraisers aren't really an option, especially for high school clubs at the moment. So this is a bit of good that the high school students are trying to do right now. And I believe that is the end of my presentation.
So Anna, if we are, or Ava, I'm sorry, Ava, if we are able to donate some used clothes or something like that, do we then just email the that you had attached there, the
Yes,
cfcpec@gmail?
.com, yes.
And then they will arrange to come and they'll know our address from when we share that, and they can come and pick it up from us.
Exactly. And our goal is for this all to be contactless so that people that are at risk don't have to worry. The idea is that you tell us which address you'd like it picked it up from, and we just drive by, pick it up off your porch, and you don't even have to look at us.
Hey, great. Is that being shared on your social media as well?
Yes, it is on the official WHS CFC Instagram and Facebook.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any other comments or questions for Ava from the trustees or the members of the meeting? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Thank you again, Ava, for coming today. And I appreciate you mentioning the Latinx meeting that happened last week. That was very powerful. Those of you that haven't seen that, the Sonoma County Office of Education did a special program with Latina and Latino students, and two of those students were Windsor students. One is a current senior, as Ava mentioned, and another that had graduated last year and was representing Santa Rosa Junior College. And so they did a very good job representing Windsor and making us proud of them, even more than we already were. So great stuff. All right, we're going to move on through our agenda. Item 3.2 is adjustments to the agenda. I haven't heard or seen anybody mention this, but Does any staff have any recommendations of changing the agenda at all tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward and go through the agenda as is written. Item 3.3 is a principal's report. Principal Julie Stern from Maddie Washburn Elementary will be sharing some information with us tonight. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you to all of the board members. Thank you, President Heights. And thank you, Mr. Decker and everybody else for having me here tonight. I am very excited to be here to be sharing the things that are happening at Maddie Washburn. And just truthfully, I think throughout the whole district, but I will be talking mostly to Maddie. I did want to just start off first that I wanted just to give a huge shout out to our entire staff in Windsor Unified School District. They are working so extremely hard with our distance learning. I'm sure as all the board members and Mr. Decker know that this is not the best or ideal situation for anybody, for our teachers, families, kids, but it is where we're at. And I am just so appreciative of all of the staff at Maddie and all of the staff in Windsor Unified School District who are just putting in the endless amount of hours to make distance learning the best that it can be. I'll talk specifically to Maddie because I see it on a daily basis. Our teachers are going head over heels, and we know it's not going to ever make every single person happy. You know, some people want more Zoom, some people want less Zoom, people want more of anything or whatever. But I'm so incredibly proud of the things that the Maddie staff is doing. And I'm going to be sharing some of those things that we're doing to make distance learning the best that it possibly can be. But thank you to the staff and thank you to the board for supporting all of it that we are trying to do, because it's a huge undertaking, as you all know. And I thank you all. I thank Mr. Decker for taking this on, and I thank our staff. Our first thing that I wanted to share was that we had our first PD day. Well, we've had many over the summer, but our first one during our school year here on October 16th, where we were able to get together as a staff, and we looked at some iReady training and able to look at scores so that we can really start identifying our kids that are having, troubles in different areas. And so it was great to be able to receive that training, and then the afternoon to really spend time in our grade levels and really dissect where it is that we should be putting our efforts towards. We normally have our kiddos for 6 hours a day, and it gets now, pushed into a smaller condensed time. And we still feel that pressure of like, we need to get it all done. Every teacher wants to get it all done. So we had that opportunity to spend a little time to really look at those standards that we have to really hit hard. And I appreciate Mr. Decker and the district who are, saying that we need a little more time to keep doing that as we move into trimester 2. So we will have, at Maddie Washburn, we'll be having 2 more PD days on December 1st and December 3rd, where we'll spend more time breaking that apart and really looking at the standards we need to hit. So I'm excited about those opportunities to have that time. Last week, I think it probably was my favorite week of all for distance learning. We had picture day and a distribution day, 2 days of picture days. I think the entire staff was like kids in a candy store ourselves. We got to see kids coming on campus safely, masks on, social distancing, and them all dressed up, looking adorable. I love picture day anyways. But they got to come on campus, take a safe picture, and we probably scared a couple of kids because we were just like, oh, children. So it was so great to see, and we just realized how much we truly miss having kiddos on our campus. So we'll be having a makeup picture day for any of our families that could not come on November 18th. We are doing all kinds of different clubs. We have started a coloring club with our librarian. We are using our support staff in different ways. to make the connections with kids, because we know how important it is to have those connections. So we are starting, well, she has already started. We have a coloring club. We're going to be starting a lunch bunch. We'll be starting a Lego club, and we're trying to have these different ways that kids can come and connect with us via Zoom, but for other ways, not just the educational ways. So we're very excited about that, and we'll have more announcements for those other clubs coming up. I've started my Wednesday announcements again. I don't know if you've been watching me on YouTube, hope you do, or on Facebook. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do, but it's my way to connect with the kids and the families. And so I'm happy that I am back at doing those. So please join in whenever you want to and check those out. Our computer technician, Miss Harris, our librarian technician, Miss Clinton, they have been doing weekly videos or live Zooms with the kids so that we're continuing those connections with library and computer skills. So we are trying to create as best as we can all of the things that we would be doing as if we were on campus. We have our spirit days, and we've had already a couple of fun ones. Crazy Hair Day, one of my favorites. But coming up, we have October 30th, Costume Day for anyone that would like to dress up. And then November 2nd, we have Pajama Day. And then on November 20th, it is Thankful for Your School. And we'll be wearing our school colors of orange and black. And we're excited about that to keep the spirit going here at Maddie Washburn. Overall, we are just trying to keep our spirits up and being there for the kids and the families and being there for each other. As crazy as this has been with distance learning, in some ways it has kind of brought us actually closer together. My grade level teams have said they have never talked as much as they have talked in these last couple of months, and have collaborated and have created a lot of lessons where we truthfully are on the same page. And that's pretty exciting, not being cookie cutters, but just being on the same page. And so I'm actually thrilled that we've had this time to create these collaborative moments. So that's what's going on at Maddie Washburn. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I'm just kind of curious, as a teacher myself, and a lot of our staff is on site. How many of your staff are on site and how many are working from home?
I would say that the majority of our staff actually come here. Being a TK through second grade school, we have so many manipulatives, so many moving pieces and backboards and everything that we need to be using. So I would say probably out of 22 teachers, I would say probably 19 come every day.
Great, thank you.
Well,
Anyone else that would like to address? Yes, Stephanie, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say thank you for the report, and I commend you and your staff for, I think, working with a group of students who are not necessarily used to sitting on Zoom calls or on any type of conference software situation. So, and it sounds like it's going really well. I mean, given the circumstances. So just thank you for that. And I'm glad that there is the silver lining of the staff feeling like they've been brought together and that they're communicating more. That's awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. And I like that you call them kiddos. I call people kiddo. It's I don't even know where it came from, but when you say it, it sounds good too. So keep it up. Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll move forward in our agenda. Item 3.4 is public comment for the open session. I did not receive any comments other than one that will be read later during one of the agenda items. So if anybody else did receive something, please let me know, but I think we're ready to move on from that as well.
Can I ask, and did you receive a public comment or just an inquiry about how to provide a public comment?
He said he was going to go back to his computer and send me a public comment, but it hasn't arrived yet.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, we do have another meeting in a couple weeks, and so if that person would like to share at that time, we'll be happy to acknowledge that. The next section of our agenda is the consideration of approval of consent items, and I'm going to ask Vice President Ahmad to please lead us through these items tonight.
Okay, here we go. All right, item 4, consideration of approval of consent items. I'm going to read through them. There are 7. So bear with me for a minute. We have item 4.1, consideration of approval of personnel assignment order 2021-05. Item 4.2 is consideration of approval of change order number 2 for Geocon Consultants for the Maddie Washburn new classroom project. Item 4.3 is consideration of approval of Kalikameka Language Academy portable replacement design survey proposal. Item 4.4, consideration of approval of change order number 1 for the Windsor High School basketball paving replacement project. Item 4.5, consideration of Village Charter School unaudited actuals report for 2019 to 2020. Item 4.6 is contract batch 102-02020. And item 4.7 is consideration of approval of district warrants for October 1st through October 15th, 2020. I will make the first motion. Do we have a second motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Valenzuela. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Lois, as you know, there's a soil sample that we have to pay for at Maddie Washburn before they put the new portables there. When do you anticipate them actually building the portables and being done? Would that be this school year or at the beginning of next school year in terms of having the portables ready and having kids in them? Probably August of next year or sooner?
It kind of depends how it all goes. It won't be before August, and most likely it will be a few months into the school year from what I'm hearing right now.
Okay,
We're
thank you.
hoping for some windows where they can speed things up.
And it depends on the rain as well, right? And
That's part of it, yes.
okay, thank you.
The good part of that discussion is that we're not having to remove classrooms to be able to build the new ones. We have classrooms in another part of the campus where the new ones will be, don't have classrooms on them currently. So we don't have to shuffle kids back and forth.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, then we'll go ahead and vote. I can do this, although Trustee Heights usually jumps in and does the vote, but I'll just say all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay, good. So we're a 5-0 on that, and we're ready to move on to item 5, which is a report or discussion. And the item 5.1, or only for this section tonight, is the athletics at Windsor High School. We have a presentation by Athletic Director Jamie Williams, and I see her here tonight. So Jamie, please take it away and let us know what's happening virtually and and distance learning for athletics here.
Thank you so much. Are you able to see my screen? Can you hear me speak? Okay. Okay, well, this is always the weird part when we're doing it this way, right? Because I see the screen, I don't see people. So much like teaching right now, but I really appreciate Board of Trustees. Thank you for having me, and Superintendent Decker and everyone else. Thank you. It's always exciting for me to share, and I could probably go on, but I'm always warned, here's your time limit. So I'm going to get right to it. There's so much going on with athletics, and you know, last year was jam-packed as always, and before spring break, a lot happened between 7 NCS pennants that were our scholar athletes were given and awarded as our teams achieved. You know all this because you're involved. I really appreciate how the board is involved, how the district's involved, and you've heard this before, but just highlighting some of those great moments. is some of the things I love doing throughout the school year. But let's get to the reason we all do what we do. It's for the students, right? We're student focused. So I want to skip to our next slide. And I want to point out that some of the things that we had to lead with a different approach on, okay, we're not at school, but there's still students that we're trying to connect with and engage and recognize. And we didn't have our theater end of the year senior awards with our peers and our families. Instead, we took a different approach. And these four right here, Riley West, Connor Wong, Billy Boyle, and Gracie Hernandez are, these four represent our 6 pillars of character counts that CIF has. They're right there on the bottom of the screen. Just truly, they're amazing young people that earn those Scholar Athlete Awards. And I want to share one of the experiences that we had with them.
Oh, awesome. Yay! Athlete of the Year. Well done, my friend. I'm going to hand that to you.
Let me see the thing. Let me see it, Connor.
Can you hold it up? Here, I'll take that. Back.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
And as you can see, that's what it means, sharing that with their friends, their families, and we just have to think outside the box. And that's kind of the action and the approach a lot of us, the coaches were taking, admin were taking, myself, leaning in and really trying to lead in a different way. What we did up here on the far right, if you're seeing the same screen I am here, the coaches check-in, that's a 4-minute video. You can check it on the Windsor High School Athletic website if you'd like to see it. But just a way for our spring coaches that had, all those athletes that they were in the midst of their season and it was cut short. It was, hold on to hope, hold on to hope. Is it going to come back? Are we going to come back? What do we do now? We did a coaches check-in video just to kind of connect with the community, connect with the students, and let them see their faces and hear their words. Over here on the other side, we have Maxine DeMars representing just an example of how our wrestling team, as well as many others, had to think other ways to do our banquet awards. And this was a social distance way to just present those awards. Over here, this is why I do what I do. I miss the moments where you go from gym to field to basketball court to the office and you're hearing the coach's voice, you're hearing the whistle, you're seeing the kids sparkle in their eye when they did the play correctly, or the sweat on their brow when they're running those lines. And this is what we did. We tried to do it in a new way.
Dribbling the ball. Okay? We're just plant that right foot, lift that left knee, extend the left hand for the shot. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. Count how many you make in a row with your left hand. All right, let's get going.
You don't have to know Coach P to know that you can recognize his voice, and I think any athlete or somebody that's been around sports in general, that voice brings a little comfort. It drives you, motivates you, excites you. And those are the kinds of things that I think that we tried to do in this new approach. So by engaging our students, you could see that in our Title IX report, which you could look on our website for that as well in detail, but we continue to hold steady with our student population on how many involved students are involved in sports. And that's despite some of the decline in enrollment as from last year and the year before there. What I'd like to recognize is the fact that two of the things I would love to do next is really improve communication and listen. I want to listen to our student athletes. I don't want to just walk through and give direction. I think it's really important for me to start listening to some of those leaders, and then also to really encourage an experience when you go to a game, not just go to a game, but connect in that way. And moving right along, what are we doing? What's happening? Increasing social media and the presence for athletics has become, I think, a mission of improving communication of what's happening. I think all of us at this time, you know, we're constantly either watching the news or looking at protocols, listening for guidance, searching for ways that we can lead in a new way and give out information. And that's one of the ways that I've worked on that, as well as, you know, simple things like having a coaches group email that then we just produce more information to our coaches, and then meeting with them and having those collaborative times. I love how that was shared already tonight, that just the increase. I mean, I've attended more IPs as a teacher during virtual learning than I ever have, I think, in my career of 20 years teaching. And virtual has allowed that to happen. And so I think definitely the encouragement and the support through professional development across the nation with other athletic directors as well, we're learning from each other. Pivoting a little bit to what's coming next, being proactive and planning ahead is something I've really taken on, and that's the approach I take. And I feel it's my duty as the athletic director not to sit back and just, you know, wait for things to happen. So that's why we're looking at streaming live events and installing a camera both at the stadium and at the big gym. And by doing that, then our families outside of town or a parent that couldn't make it, or perhaps there's 2 games going on, this will just improve the experience for everybody. And especially if we have additional protocols that limit our participation in the fans area. My first experience with it was our playoff game last football season, and it was amazing. I felt like I was right there with the kid that was announcing, so it was really cool. I do need to recognize that, of course, I've talked about sports is happening in its own unique way right now with practices and protocols, but look at this picture at the bottom of our wrestling girls that probably for months haven't gotten together, because that's one of the high contact sports, right? How do you really do that? They got together for the street to creek to street Windsor community event where we went and cleaned, and the coach, you know, put that together and got some girls that were willing to come out, and that was a great community service. And then also our community, thank you to Diamond Strong Fitness, a generous donation of a frame for our weight room, not just that will support athletics and the conditioning that we're really trying to focus on here as we move back indoors, but also for our PE programs and the ability to have more stations for our students. And trying to keep it short there, right? I don't know if I went super fast, but I am gonna leave you with this. The book on the top there is a book that all the coaches received, and I wanna leave you with a quote from the book. One of the great myths in America is that sports build character. They can, and they should. Indeed, sports may be the perfect venue in which to build character, but sports don't build character unless a coach possesses character and intentionally teaches it. I feel privileged to work not only with the students in Windsor and the community, but the amazing coaches that I work with. It has truly been a privilege. So with that, I thank you all. Specifically for the ways that you have supported the athletics programs over the course of many, many years before I came here, but also during this time where we're trying to adapt to so many changes that are occurring. And that's all. Questions?
Well, thank you, Ms. Williams. I appreciate your report. I know that Trustee Adams and I have done the homecoming powder puff game lots of times here as referees and umpires, and so maybe we'll get a chance to do something like that again in the early spring or something. But we look forward to athletics getting started, and we hope that the kids have that outlet to to do what they're passionate about. So thank you for sharing tonight.
Thank you.
President Heights, would it be okay for me to address, there have been some questions about why we're able to do conditioning but not able to come back to school. Do you think it'd be appropriate for me to explain some of the reasons why that's allowed?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me. It's a good place for it.
Okay, so I just received a number of inquiries from the community as to why we're allowed to condition and not allowed to come back to school. And they're actually governed by two different bodies, essentially. So for school in-person instruction, we're governed by a blueprint for a safer economy. And sports are governed by something completely different. There's been a lot of different guidance that's come out, but the main things that we're looking at are CIF. And then there's also industry guidance that talks about gyms and a number of other things. So the blueprint for a safer economy specifically details how we can open schools. Within that blueprint for a safer economy, athletics are not mentioned. So therefore we go to a different guidance and we go to, well, basically it's CDPH industry guidance, which has to do with youth sports. And so we look at what we're allowed to do, and essentially we have to be outside, maintain distancing, be in a cohort, and not share balls. And so we can do conditioning and do individual skill building. And so and I know it's frustrating for certain people to say, well, how can we have kids doing, cohort work in sports, but not be in a classroom? It's simply the law. And that's what we're abiding by, the laws. So what I found frustrating, I will say, is that athletics being governed by a different set of laws, if somebody's a football coach or a volleyball coach, they can have their team outside doing conditioning. However, if they were a PE teacher, that individual is not allowed to do the exact same thing outside simply because of the way both sports and in-person instruction are governed. And President Heights, I know you know this because you are a PE teacher, and it's got to be frustrating and an athletic director. It's got to be frustrating that the not lack of guidance, just not consistent guidance for us has to be followed. So I just felt like it was important for me to clarify that, as I received a number of questions.
I had a quick question for Jamie Williams, if I could. Thank you for the report, Jamie. I like your enthusiasm and your matching colors on the screen. Looks great. Hypothetically, if the district were on distance learning, could there be sports at the same time? Because back in the old days when I was a kid, you had to prove that you went to class and you had to have the 6 teachers sign, then you could play the game that night. Has CIF talked about anything like that? If there were distance learning, could sports happen, or sports can only happen under hybrid where kids are physically on campus? And if you don't know, that's fine. I've just been wondering that.
Well, there's definitely been conversations about it. As far as CIF, we've asked questions as athletic directors about that attendance policy. There has not been any clear answer yet because distance learning may vary among many districts among the state. So there hasn't been any rule change, I'll tell you that right now. And if we were to have to monitor attendance and we were able to participate, it will be a unique circumstance. And just like anything else that's unique right now, I think we just take it on in a different approach and work with the rules as we can. So okay. I'm hopeful that if it's safe and there's some guidance, and I know CIF right now is talking with the California Health Department still.
Okay, so, thank you for that. I've always been wondering that, and I'm glad I finally got an answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and Jamie just mentioned it, but the California Interscholastic Federation, the CIF she mentioned before, they have set dates for what they call now season 1 to begin on December 7th or 14th, depending on where you are in the state. But that's only pending the California Department of Public Health. That overrides CIF. So we have several plans in place on what can happen, but we don't have control over whether we'll be allowed to do that in December or not yet. There's always hope, and the kids are wanting that, and the coaches are wanting that. But as we know, Sonoma County is one of the most highly infected areas. And so we have to be very cautious about how we do things. So much more to come in the future.
Thanks, Jamie. Always appreciate your enthusiasm and your hard work and your smile that you give to all the kids.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, well, we thank you again, and we'll move on in our agenda. We have the discussion and action section, item 6 on our agenda. And the first of those is item 6.1, consideration of approval of the facilities maintenance plan dated 2018-2019. And so Business Officer Lois Standring will present, and Superintendent Decker, if you'd like to have anything else prior to that, please begin.
No, you know what? I think that I'll just kick this one to Lois, as this is a unique plan that I think she would explain much better than I.
Thank you. So this is something new for all of our eyes. It's new to me. It stems from the fact that in order to accept money from the state for our facilities, which we're lucky enough to be able to have been doing over the last few years, we have to document that we are taking care of our facilities. If the state's going to give us money, they expect us to maintain our facilities. So once you get them, they give you the money. We've received money for a project at the high school, the G Quad, some portables we put in. Mimi Dean Williamson helped us file for that. We've put in for the Brooks project, and we're in the process of putting in for, well, actually we've been approved for North Bay Med Academy / Windsor Oaks. So with all of that money for each one, we have to do a closeout report and get an audit from the state. And what we found as we were going through the first audit for the Windsor High School G-Quad project, they expect a facilities plan, 5-year facility plan, which I have read about, but I've never produced one, nor have I seen one. So Mimi Dean helped us to put this together. It is, the reason it's 2018-19, which makes it seem a little late, it's for 2 reasons. One, the project at the high school was quite a few years back, and the money came in 18-19. And then 2, it has to be a plan based on a closed financial year. And when we were putting this together, 19-20 was not closed yet. So we will be, now that we've closed 19-20, we'll be working on creating this plan for the upcoming, or for the most recent past year. So instead of just pulling together a plan, which we could have done, we decided to create something that would be useful for the future. So Mimi Dean helped us create a template that we'll be able to use. It reflects the FIT report, the facilities inspection tool that you get a report from early in the calendar year each year. And it will help us track how we spend the money to support those items that we do. So it, as you can see, it's a fairly straightforward report going by site and by the different areas of repair that the FIT covers. And one of the things that has come out of it is when we did this report, in the past, we've always coded or tracked things from a district perspective. And the FIT is not from a district perspective. It is clearly from a site perspective, and then it divides out plumbing, painting, all the different areas of maintenance. So we have had a giant coding project where we're going to be separating all of our expenses as best we can and tracking them by site, by area. And so in future years, we started that this year. We couldn't do it in 19-20. 19-20 had already passed. But in future years, we'll be able to really pull this together, and it will be very precise about where the money went. This 18-19 was our best guess as to how it went. 19-20 will be similar. But we'll continue to create these each year. It's going to be a much simpler process now that the template is done. And I think that's all I have to say about it, unless you have any questions.
Okay, and seeing no questions.
Right?
Oh, sorry. dropped my clipboard. Sorry about that. Seeing as there are no questions, I haven't noticed anybody jumping up and down or anything like that. I would like to ask for a motion to approve item 6.1.
I'll make a motion, Eric, that we approve it.
Thank you, Trustee Carnation. And a second motion, please. Okay, Trustee Adams. All those in favor of approving item 6.1, the consideration of approval of the Facilities Maintenance Plan 2018-2019, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Was that a yes or a no, Bill?
That was
Yes.
a yes.
Okay, thank
That
you.
was 2 thumbs
You
up.
made the motion. I thought you were saying yes. Came in a little late. Okay, so we passed that 5-0. Thank you for bringing it to us, Lois, and we hope to get that money reimbursed from the state. That's great.
And thank you for that clear explanation, Lois. That was very helpful.
Okay, item 6.2 in our agenda is consideration of approval of to continue with distance learning through winter break. Superintendent Decker, can you lead us into discussion here, please?
I can. So at the previous board meeting, I was given direction essentially to suspend in-class instruction through the end of the semester. The board and I felt it was most proper to bring this back so that we could allow for public comment, as it wasn't agendized that we would be closing in-person instruction through December. And so that's what we're doing. I guess something that I would like to say, it's October 20th at this point. We are trending the wrong direction with our cases right now. We would have to be under 7 new cases per 100,000 population in Sonoma County. We got down, to around 10 a while back. We're now over 13 again, and that's been occurring over the past week or two. So it doesn't look great. We wouldn't, at the earliest right now, we would be the end of November to even begin entering into the red tier, which would allow conversations of reopening. Seeing as how that's, 3 weeks away from the end of the semester, it seems prudent at this point to suspend in-class instruction through the winter semester, give some clarity to our families, our education staff. And it's unfortunate. I mean, this isn't where any of us thought we would be October 20th. I know I didn't. So I'm disappointed, but it seems like it's the appropriate thing to do at this time, knowing the metrics that we're faced with in Sonoma County.
Any questions or comments for Superintendent Decker from the members of the meeting? Okay, seeing none, I would like to open it for public comment. And we have a letter that was written to us as trustees, as well as to the superintendent and the special ed director and several others. This letter comes from Rebecca Rocha, and it reads as following. As the days pass, I am becoming increasingly concerned with the lack of a plan for Sonoma County to serve our most vulnerable students. Since I'm a Windsor resident, I am directing my concerns at our school district. What is the plan for WUSD to serve its most vulnerable students? In speaking with board members, it seems some are unaware that Governor Newsom granted permission for districts to serve vulnerable students regardless of their county's COVID status. This decision was made by the governor in mid-August, and there's a site that pertains to that. I'm not going to go and read all of that. It seems some board members or even district teachers think that the district is not allowed to serve students due to our county's COVID status. I continue to hear explanations for why our children with the highest needs cannot be seen in person. First, I was told that RESIG, which is the insurance group, would not clear employees to work. Then I was told that the district was searching for a COVID testing service. Yet in the midst of this, other counties have started seeing their students. So if other counties can figure out how to do this, why can't ours? And why can't a small district the size of Windsor figure this out? And then she references Alameda County, which is in a different situation than we are. So I'm not going to go to their website and stuff there now. This does not mean children like mine who may be severely handicapped, but children who are depressed, suicidal, home alone, newcomer students, etc. I am appalled that Windsor Unified School District, like many other districts in the county, has developed a plan for allowing athletes to come back onto campus to practice sports, While that is amazing and wonderful for athletes, it makes me question our priorities. This sends a message that the district can figure out a plan for sports, yet cannot figure out a plan to serve its vulnerable students. This is unacceptable. The fear of contracting COVID is real. However, I am concerned that labor unions may be blocking efforts for vulnerable children being served. Many statements that I am hearing are based on misinformation. At the Santa Rosa City Santa Rosa City Schools board meeting last night, this was written earlier. During public comment, a school psychologist, Robert Johns, acknowledged that Santa Rosa Teacher Association is blocking efforts for special ed staff to work with their students. Is that the case in Windsor? Later, the Santa Rosa Teacher Association president spoke, basically saying that it is unsafe for any teacher to work with children. Is this actually accurate? And then again, there's references to other sites and studies. There isn't time to read all of that tonight. All the trustees have seen this letter. It is October 15th. It is clear we are not opening anytime soon. I urge you to develop a plan to start serving the most vulnerable students within the next month. Let's be a model for equity in the county. And as a school administrator, I understand the complications of this situation. I am not asking for all students to return, but some need to. And in closing, she shares that there's an article that we should read, and that link is here. And then thank you for taking the time to read this email. We need to work together to develop a plan. We will not wait another 6 months. How many children will be harmed in the meantime? Sincerely, Rebecca Rocha, parent of Windsor Unified.
Eric, is it okay if I respond to a few things just to clarify?
Yes, during public comment, the board does not reply, but if you would like to make a comment back, I think that's fine. Yes.
And I figure since this is an agendized item, it will help just for clarity's sake. I think one of the things that's really difficult for our community is that you see other counties doing things very differently. And we are all in very different places, even our neighbors. So when I say 13.1, that number doesn't really mean much to anybody, but it's a significant number. That's the number of new cases per 100,000 people in Sonoma County. In Alameda, they're at 2.9. We're at 13.1, they're at 2.9. So it's a significant difference. 2.9 puts them in the orange tier. Now they haven't been in the orange tier long enough to actually be in the orange tier, but their metrics are such that they could be soon. So I understand the frustration. Even if you look toward Napa, they're somewhere around 4 where we're at 13. They're getting close to being in the orange tier as well. So a lot of counties are going to be opening up. Every time you change tiers, there are more rights, I guess, if you will, to do things in person and, inside. So we're really, it's hard to compare us to anyone else. We really can only be compared to ourselves because nobody around us is in a similar situation. We're trending the wrong way, and we're one of the highest in the state. I heard recently that we may be the highest in the state in terms of our metrics. And then I would like to clarify something. WDEA, they actually have been great partners. So there's nobody holding this up except for safety. We've worked really well together, in my opinion, and I'm really proud of the work. In fact, it's been very collaborative. All of our conversations, none of it has been blocking. It's really been trying to problem solve and do things in the safest way possible. So she had asked that question. I feel it's important to clarify that because I'm really proud of our relationship. I think it's been a good process that we've engaged in with both CSEA and with WDEA. And
thank you, Superintendent Decker, for giving a little response to the letter that we received and for clearing up some issues that many people have been discussing on social media and in public and in their neighborhoods and such. It's very difficult, and hopefully we can turn the corner sometime soon. At this time, unless there are any further comments, Rich and George, okay, George, please go ahead.
Let's go with Pete Stefanisco first, and then I'll go after.
Okay, yes.
I just wanted to add that, yes, we have been working with the district to try and ensure the safety and health of our members and students. And it's been very productive. We are listening to the county health officials about this. And there's a lot of obstacles to overcome. It isn't a simple matter of looking at how it's spread in schools or something. You have to have PPE, you have to have cleaning, you have to decide where the people are indoors or outdoors, how long they're there. There's a lot of things that have to be in place before you can actually make it work. And so nobody wants to get back in the classroom more than teachers. I want to make that perfectly clear. Distance learning is difficult and we miss the kids, absolutely 100%. But until it is safe to do so, it is just not, we're just not able to do it. And so we'll keep working with the district and the board to provide the best education we can and protect the health and safety of everyone in the Windsor community.
Thank you, Pete, for your comments and for working with the superintendent. Superintendent Decker, can you talk a little bit about when you would bring back small groups of students like resource students or special day class students? As you mentioned earlier, I was watching the news and we're the only purple county in the Bay Area. So, and I think the other purple counties that I saw in the state, there might be a few, maybe Los Angeles County, but there aren't too many purple counties. So if you could just talk really quickly about when you plan on working with the union and your staff and when you would allow small groups of students like those with IEPs to return.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're really looking at trying to make sure we're safe, right? So even though we're allowed to open in the purple tier, most districts did not. What makes this hard is a lot of the districts that have opened in other counties have been in the red tier. And that's when they brought back these small groups for instruction. It just feels like they must, it feels different because you hear about it, they're in the red tier, we're in the purple. So a lot of our discussions that we've been having as a district have been centered around this. And we're looking at metrics that are closer to the red tier. Being in the red tier when we start to look at our groups of vulnerable students, our English learners, our special needs students, some students who are, not engaging via distance learning. So most likely, Trustee Valenzuela, we'd be looking when we're in the red tier. Now, none of this has been fully fleshed out, but that's where our conversations have been centered around. And most likely after winter break, because we probably aren't going to enter the red tier until potentially December. There's going to be a transition time to get things up and running. And it just doesn't seem likely that we would be opening up in any fashion until after winter break. And honestly, if we get close to December, even if we hit metrics that would allow us to potentially open, it would probably be more prudent to wait and do the planning so that we can open properly in after winter break.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask another question here, or maybe make a statement. So we're saying with this approval, if it does actually be approved, that instruction in person could not happen until after winter break. That does not mean that we are guaranteeing that instruction will happen after winter break. We are hopeful that that can be the case, but it could be that, the county numbers are still way too high for that. We're just giving families notice that all of November, all of December, we're going to stay with what we're doing now, wait and see how the case numbers and the health officers change their rules and change their ratings and such. And then if things are good, we'll come back in January, potentially not as well. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. I think that we'll continue to have discussions internally with our labor groups about some of the more vulnerable students, but I simply don't see a mechanism for us moving forward, especially with the wrong direction that we're trending right now. This is going to push us probably into December at a minimum before we get to a red tier. And that's where we have really had our discussions about it feeling safer to even consider bringing back these high need students.
Any further comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, I would accept a motion to approve item 6.2, to approve to continue with distance learning through winter break. Is there a motion from the trustees?
I so move that we continue with distance learning through a minimum of winter break.
Thank you, Trustee Valenzuela. And a second motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Ahmad. All those in favor of approving item 6.2, please say aye.
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 And I think Trustee Adams is preoccupied with another meeting. So we'll say 4, 0, and 1. And if he chimes back in later, we can amend that. So thank you. Okay, item 6.3, consideration of approval of declaration and resolution 2021-04 of need for the 2021 school year, declaration of need. Dr. Kanalik, can you guide us through this item, please? Welcome.
Thank you. Sure, this will probably be a little quicker than the last topic, but this is an annual sort of standard operating procedure sort of item where it allows the district the opportunity, which has become now commonplace, to give people emergency certification through internship programs. And over the years that, like I say, that's become more of a common practice, and those internship programs have become, I would say, better and kind of almost more of a routine entry point for many teachers. And so it's really, with this teacher shortage, it's just become kind of part of the landscape for school districts. So this is a high estimate. The numbers you see in here are high, but we always like to put in a higher estimate so we're ready. So I won't go any further unless people have additional questions or need clarifications.
Okay, I'm not seeing anybody asking any questions or waving a hand or anything. So as you mentioned, it's a standard thing we do yearly and it's an annual agreement. So I would be open to accepting a motion for consideration of approval of declaration 2021-04 for declaration of need for the 2020-2021 school year. Who would like to make the first motion? Okay, I will make that motion. And can we get a second? George?
I'll second. Yeah.
Thank you, George. All those in favor of approving item 6.3, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we got all 5 that time. Good job. So we can move forward and file those papers. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to our routine information, item 7 of our agenda. So item 7.1 is response to board or community requests. Do we have any responses to the community or from the community? I will read one email that has come in, or one not. It came as an email, but it is a public comment that was mistimed, and so we didn't get a chance to read it earlier. But I will do that now. This is a letter from Brian Kenny, addressed to the board. My name is Brian Kenny. I am here tonight to speak to you about what I believe is an agenda item. The item concerns the school district's desire to purchase an undeveloped piece of land abutting the high school with an address of 488 Jenny Drive. There are a few items of information I feel you need to be aware of before you take up this matter. The first item is that I am in the middle of a very contentious lawsuit with my ex. I am the plaintiff. Part of the claim is relative to the property at 488 Jenny Drive. A judge has ruled that I have provable financial claims against the land. I quote here from the ruling, plaintiff does provide substantial evidence, including his declaration, supported with documentary evidence, supporting his claim at east of some amount. Plaintiff provides evidence supporting his claims about the parties' relationship and the monies and effort he expended on the Jenny Drive property, defendant's debts and other parties' expenses overall. This evidence does not demonstrate a probable interest in Jenny Drive property so as to support a list pendant, but is more than sufficient for this stage in the litigation to support his claim to compensation of some amount. So he continues to write, I guess the first question I have to ask you is, were you aware of this encumbrance on the property when you looked at entering into purchasing the property at 488 Jenny Drive? Didn't somebody do any due diligence on this property before you entered into a preliminary purchase agreement with the owner of record? The second item regarding this land is that I live on the property. I'm a 61-year-old disabled veteran. I live in my step van on this property. I've been living here since the end of May. Everyone in the neighborhood knows I live here. The Windsor Police Department is aware I live here. Anyone who ever walks or drives by the property along the side of the high school parking lot knows I live here. I'm living here because I have been unjustly ejected from my home and deprived of any share of the assets of my 18-year relationship with Andrea Kenny, the title holder of 488 Jenny Drive. This is why I have sued her. Then, when COVID struck, I lost my employment and I ended up having to live in my van on the land since May 26th of 2020. I'm going to paraphrase here, and we won't have time to read all of this. I'm going to skip a little bit that deals with some of the COVID restrictions and such. If the school board persists in its attempt to engage in purchasing this property, while the property is actively involved in litigation, I will be suing the school board and the WUSD. This is a violation of my civil rights. Furthermore, I am forced to go live under a bridge because of your actions. I will sue the Windsor Unified School District for forcing me into a dangerous situation during a time of pandemic. This is not only immoral, it is illegal and the most heartless thing I have ever heard. What gives you people the right to throw a disabled veteran out on the street, all for your own gain? Speaking of your own gain, what makes the Windsor Unified School District think they have no obligation to be accountable to the public? Closed-door meetings are an anathema to the idea that holding public institutions accountable. This smacks of illicit backdoor deals out of public eye. The next item, whether or not you are aware that not much over 3 months ago, the town of Windsor paid an appraisal on the property and the value was appraised at $170,000. Why would the school district now accept such a substantially different appraisal only 3 months later and offer to pay $200,000, a price 17% more after just 3 months? The final item I want to discuss is why, during a time of pandemic, when there are many demands on few dollars within the education community and teachers are getting laid off or having their hours cut, the district is looking to spend money on undeveloped land. I know you have also made overtures to the adjacent landowners at 478 Jenny Drive. This is not a terrible time to spend close to, this is not a terrible time to spend close to $500,000 plus development costs on land you really don't need now. As a taxpayer, I have a serious interest in this question, and I'm sure many others do as well. Additionally, you're spending a lot of money installing solar panels over the parking lot at the high school. Why now all of these expenditures? How many people have lost their jobs for the purchase of these items during the pandemic? Thank you very much. Signed, Brian Kenny. So that is a letter that we received that was meant to be read during public comment, and it was not available at the time, but we read it now during this item 7.2. And we're not allowed to really speak on these items, but I don't know if Superintendent Decker wants to add anything to that. We have.
I don't think he can because it's not on the agenda, so no one can comment. And I guess the superintendent will follow up. My only question, Eric, is could you forward that email to the rest of the board? Because I don't think we got it. Maybe it was just
Yes, I will do that. Yes.
It just came in very late, George.
Yeah.
Yes,
There would really be public
for forwarding that, George. Good request.
Yeah, so Eric just read it for public comment, basically.
Yes.
But we can't comment because it's not an agenda item.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I will, after the meeting ends, I will send it to the rest of the board, so you have a record of that as well. Are there any other items of general interest or a response to board and community requests that you've received recently? Okay, seeing none. Item 7.4 is staff association report. I know that Pete Stephaniscos is here and Brad Freeland. Would either of you like to give a staff association report this evening?
I do not have a CSEA report for this school board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Brad. And Pete, do you have something you'd like to share tonight?
I think last time I told you I was meeting with a regional group of unions, and then there was a larger region that goes from the Golden Gate all the way up to the Oregon border. And nobody has this figured out, right? There is not a district that has figured out how to do substitutes, how to make distance learning more engaging, what to do if you have kids who stay on distance learning and you go to a hybrid model. So it's a struggle. Everybody is dealing with it, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. Our attendance feature, which was hard to deal with, CTA said that we should be doing exactly what we're doing, integrated into our current attendance program. And so thank you, Lisa, for making that happen early.
Okay, thank you for that. We can't reinvent everything ourselves, so we're hoping to rely on others as well, and that's good information that you shared. Item 7.5 are the unresolved policies. I don't know if we had a chance to review any of those yet, but we'll work on those in the future. Item 7.6, future school board items. Does anybody have something they'd like to add to that list or change from what's there? Okay, seeing nothing. And then item 7.8 are the future school board agenda items in the calendar. We have the next meeting for us will be moved. We traditionally meet on a Tuesday night, as we are tonight. The next meeting in 2 weeks from now will actually be election day. So we felt it prudent to change our meeting from election day to allow those people that choose to actively walk into the polls to be able to do so and not miss the meeting. So we will meet that Thursday of that month. I think that's November 5. Is that correct? Don't have my calendar. Yes, November 5th we will meet. So that's one change from our traditional situation that we normally do. And then we don't have a second meeting scheduled at this time for November because the second meeting would fall during the Thanksgiving recess, the days off that we would have that week with staff to prepare everything. So we will meet again in December after that next November meeting. At this time, I think we are finished with our agenda, unless there's something. Bill's sharing his I voted sticker. I think a lot of us shared that with each other earlier. Please do your civic duty if you're able and put them in the mail, drop them in the boxes at the town, send them to the county. And then you also have the chance to walk in and do it yourself on election day. So we will take a motion for adjournment. Item 8.1 is our adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, Ahmad and then Adams. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you all. We have finished early tonight. It's only 7:22, about a little over an hour. And we will look forward to meeting again on Thursday, the first Thursday of November. Thank you all for attending and good evening.
Bye.
Okay, fine. I'll end it.